All right, Larry Krueger here for the Pig and a Pickle Crew Show with a little Golden State Warrior video. That's right. As we look ahead to the trade deadline in the NBA, which is looming, and could the Warriors actually land Giannis? Could Giannis be the thing that pulls me back into watching Warrior games on a regular basis? They bore me. I got to be honest. They bore me. First, we're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week. They're soon going to open in 2026 in Petaluma. Check out Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. And also thanks to our good friends at Sleeper for being a proud sponsor of the Krug Show. Thanks to Sleeper for being a great sponsor of the Krug Show. The links in the description, terms and conditions do apply. Great platform for fantasy. You're going to love it. Use promo code Larry. Sleeper will match your first deposit up to $100. As I said, links in the description. Terms and conditions do apply. Well, we're getting closer to the NBA trade deadline, and there's a lot of talk around Giannis Antetokounmpo being traded away from the Bucks, which just seems like the unthinkable. Why would the Bucks do this? But you know what? They've already unloaded a lot of their trade assets over the last several years. They have a mediocre team this year. They're losing games to, they just lost a game to the Denver Nuggets. It didn't have their top 7 rotational players, and they still found a way to beat the Bucks. So the Bucks are looking at Giannis and is thinking, what are we going to do? We're losing. He's not happy. They've gotten a lot out of him. He's played great ball there, but he's now in his 30s. And if you look at, the Bucks, if you think about what they're, the deal they made to get Damian Lillard, they're kind of strapped for each of the next 5 years, including this one. Milwaukee's got to deal with a $22.5 million cap hit on their books for Damian Lillard, who's, not even playing. He's not even on the roster. So, I mean, for the Bucks, if they're going to try to flip their franchise from, the doldrums that it's in, and it's in kind of a declining pattern, and jumpstart the thing, they need assets, draft picks. And who's got the most attractive draft picks? Well, the Warriors do when Steph Curry's gone, right? Now, you could argue that maybe the Warriors should not be trading, their future draft picks, because how are they going to rebuild after Steph Curry? But the other argument is that the Warriors need to give Steph one more shot at an extended playoff run, or at least a conference title run, maybe an NBA title, NBA finals run. I mean, they somehow got to kind of reopen their window, which is right now closed. I mean, there's just no question about that. So, the Bucks. I mean, the Bucks are like all teams, right? They're going to move Giannis. They're going to want young players. They're going to want future picks. Milwaukee is not in a one move and then they'll win kind of a mode. They're on the verge of embracing a rebuild and embracing their post Giannis era. So Shams Charania tweeted out, 2-time MVP Giannis Antetokounmpo is ready for a new home at the February 5th NBA trade deadline or in the offseason, as several rival teams make aggressive offers to the Milwaukee Bucks for him, and the franchise is starting to listen, according to ESPN's Shams Charania. He also reported that Giannis and his agent Alex Saratzis have started conversations with the Bucks about the 2-time NBA MVP's future, and discussing kind of how they see Giannis's future and maybe where he wants to be and what's his best fit if he's no longer a Buck. And this is, sometimes you would say, oh well, that's kind of beside the point. This isn't football. This isn't baseball. This is the NBA. This is a megastar in the NBA. Megastars in the NBA have a lot of control over where they're going to go. So there's been talk for a long time that Giannis wants to be in New York. And if that's the case, then Giannis is going to be in New York. There's also been a lot of talk that Giannis would love to play with Steph. And if that's the case, then Giannis is most likely going to play with Steph. Now, there's a deal that has to be worked out, and everybody's got to be satisfied. But the player typically in the NBA has a say about his future and where he views himself and where he wants to be. And nobody really wants to trade the level of assets that it's going to require to get a guy that's there against his will or isn't happy to be there. So we're going to see a resolution, I would imagine, sooner rather than later. Now that's the Bucks side, right? The Bucks are flailing; they're well below 500. But a divorce between the Bucks and Giannis a month ago didn't seem likely. Now it seems very likely. So Bleacher Report had an article out today, and they went through a couple of interesting deals. And they have the Lakers, the Knicks, and the Spurs and the Heat, all very interested in Giannis. The Bucks trade or the Laker trade would include Giannis and his brother going to the Lakers for Rui Hachimura, Jared Vanderbilt, Gabe Vincent, Max Kleber, Dalton Connect, a first-round pick swaps in 26, 28, 30, and 32, and then a 31 first-round pick. So that's the Lakers offer. That seems like a pretty decent offer, to be honest. The Knicks, they had 2 or 3 different offers that I've seen floated around the Knicks. One of them had Giannis and his brother going to the Garden, and the Bucks would get Karl Anthony Towns, who suddenly persona non grata, and the Knicks are looking to move him, as well as Miles McBride, the young guard, and another player, as well as a first-round pick swap in 26, 28, 30, and 32, and 6 second-round picks. So, I mean, if you're the Bucks, that's pretty attractive. But then you look at the Knicks and you say, well, maybe the Knicks are going to be a little bit better. Those picks might be really late picks. 6 second-round picks, though, and pick swaps in 4 seasons is pretty good. But the Knicks don't have those first-round picks to necessarily give. Then they've got the Spurs getting Giannis and his brother, giving up Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson, Dylan Harper, a 2030 first-round pick, and a 2032 first-round pick. That's interesting from the league's perspective, just the idea of the length of Wemby and Giannis on the same team. I mean, that right there is pretty incredible to just think about. But it seems like, the Spurs have not been listed as a team that really wants to go for Giannis. So that's more of just like, hey, let's cook up a deal that we think's interesting. Now, the Miami Heat, I think, would love to have Giannis, and the Bleacher Report had their deal as Giannis and his brother go to Miami for Tyler Hero's big contract, Simon Fontecchio, Nikola Jovic, Ware, the big 7-foot center from Indiana, a 2030 first-round pick, a 2031 first-round pick swap, and a 2032 first-round pick. So that's I kind of like that one too, because I like Hero, I like Jovic, I like Ware. But you're not getting a lot of picks there. Quick shout out, this segment is sponsored by Fanatics Live. Fanatics Live is a mobile app where you can jump into live sports card rips and breaks with hosts walking you through everything in real time, even if you're new to collecting. There are 2 main ways to use it. Instant rips let you buy a pack on screen, watch it get ripped live, and every pack is a real professionally graded card inside. Once it hits, the card goes straight into your collection where you can keep it, sell it for credit, or have it shipped to your house. You can also join breaks where you can buy a team spot instead of a whole box. And if your team hits when they open it live, those cards are yours. If you want to try it out, new users get a free instant rips pack with a graded card inside. Just click the link in the description, download Fanatics Live, and join your first stream. It's fun. It's a fun, easy way to get into sports cards and experience the hobby live. Oh, looks like we got a Jerome Bettis card. I like that. Jerome Bettis was a beast with the Rams. Probably the preeminent power back of his era. Great grab there. I like that. Now, the Warrior deal that they threw out is also interesting. The Warrior deal would be the Warriors getting Giannis. Now, there's a couple of different versions, but the Warrior deal that I saw was Giannis, Kyle Kuzma, and Giannis's brother to the Warriors. And Kuzma's a nice player too, a big guy with some skill. The Bucks would wind up getting Jimmy Butler, who obviously has 1 more year left on his monster deal that pays him north of $50 million. Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody, a 2026 first-round pick swap, a 2028 first-round pick, a 2030 first-round pick, a 2031 first-round pick swap, and a 2032 first-round pick. So the Warriors would be trading, 3 number ones, a couple pick swaps, Moody, Kuminga, and Butler's contract, because Butler can't play anymore this year. And I'll say this. I love the idea of moving Butler's contract. The idea that Mike Dunleavy's talking about this week about, next year we're going to build around Jimmy Butler. What? How stupid is that? You're going to build around some guy, who's beat up, who's, now coming off the biggest injury of his career, and he's old, and you're going to build around that next year. And how's that going to work? How's that going to be better? I mean, the Warriors need to move beyond Jimmy Butler and use that contract. Now, Butler's done for the year. So in a lot of ways, the Warriors are done for the year too. And their season, really turned negative on when Jimmy went down with the torn ACL. Without him, if they stand pat at the deadline, they're done. I mean, it's just like, dead man walking. I mean, they're just playing games for no reason at all. It will be interesting to see what kind of crowds they would get. There's no path to a title. There's no path to the playoffs. I don't. The Warriors are not going anywhere. They're DOA unless they can somehow make a move. Now, Giannis is the dream move for Joe. Joe's thinking big. Why? Because Joe's built this arena, and Chase Center is an absolute it's opulent. It's gorgeous. It's expensive. You're going to have a hard time getting people to pay $3 or $50 for 3 beers to watch, pods. You need a star. You need that marquee guy. And Giannis, is obviously that guy. I mean, he's obviously a great player. Moving Butler's contract is obviously, a big part of this as well. So you turn Butler's salary slot into Giannis, and you would restore the Warriors' chances of getting Curry one title. Now, I don't think the Warriors are going to win a title, but at least you're gonna give the fan base juice. There's gonna be instant excitement. There's gonna be the ratings on the radio and television are gonna go sky high down the stretch if somehow Giannis comes to the Warriors and they make a playoff run or any kind of conference title or NBA Finals run. I mean, you're there. My good friends at 95.7 The Game, the flagship station for the Warriors, would absolutely do cartwheels if the Warriors somehow could turn, or injured Jimmy Butler and Jonathan Kuminga and picks into Giannis. And the idea of Giannis and Curry, would be fun to watch. Now, both guys are a little past their prime. Curry's, maybe more past his prime. But you got talking about the best 3-point shooter in the league's history, and Giannis, who's one of the most physically dominant presences with unbelievable length. The inside-outside potential for the Warriors with Curry and Giannis would be absolutely huge. And for the Bucks, why you sitting there going, well, why would the Bucks do this? There's some of these other deals sound better. Because for the Bucks, they're getting more picks and higher picks and better picks with the Warriors than these other teams. If you start looking at those future assets, they could be worth quite a bit. By the time those later first round picks start to convey, Giannis is going to be in his mid 30s and Curry's going to be out of the league and retired. So this gives Milwaukee a lot more, they gives them some assets, gives them Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody, some intriguing youth. It's like, that's basically the plan. Butler's contract, Kuminga, every possible draft capital you could throw towards them in exchange for Giannis and some of their bad contracts. And when you look at where this potentially could go, I mean, are the Warriors going to win a title? I don't think so. I don't think Giannis is going to bring a title, but the Warriors with Giannis and Steph could make a run to the conference finals, and they could absolutely be an incredible show for the next couple seasons at Chase. So I think they ought to do it. Their options are terrible right now. Butler's out for the year. The ship be sinking. They're boring as hell. They got a bunch of pieces that don't really fit. You don't want to, as far as regrets, are the Warriors going to regret trading these number ones? Possibly. But guess what they're really going to regret? They're really going to regret not truly going for it in the twilight years of Steph's prime. And that's where they're at. And if they don't make this move, they're a sleepy, forgettable team that's just playing out the stretch, and they're just something to do before Giants baseball starts. They're just something to do until it's time to start talking Niners again. I mean, it's just like they go from a real story to just kind of a diversion. And I think Joe, that arena's too expensive. He's too rich. Steph's too great for them to just be accepting of, well, we'll just be a midweek diversion for people that want to spend way too much for 3 tall beers. You know what I mean? They want more than that. And that arena is too fancy. It's too elaborate for them to not, have a megastar. And if you could, and they've been dreaming this Giannis dream for a while. And in some ways, the Butler contract or the Butler injury kind of accelerates this. It kind of calls the Warriors' bluff. I mean, do the Warriors have a shot with Jimmy Butler? No, they had no shot with Jimmy Butler, but they're delusional enough to think that they did. But now with Butler being hurt, now they're dead man walking, and his contract is still valuable to move. And that could be a key cog in them landing Giannis. And Giannis and Steph, would be great for the NBA. If I was Adam Silver, man, I'd be doing cartwheels to see Giannis here. Get him out of Milwaukee, put him in the Bay, let him play with Steph Curry for the next year or 2 or 3. The ratings and all the money that you could potentially make and the attention. And who knows, maybe the Warriors could make one last title run with a Giannis and a Steph and some role players and get to a conference finals or get to a finals. And how great would that be for the Warriors? How great would that be for Giannis and Steph? How great would that be for Warrior fans? And really, the bottom line, how great would that be for the NBA? So I love it. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krug Show. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're soon opening in Petaluma. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out, and they do run out. So go say hi to Damon and Mary. Get some brisket. Tell them that Krug sent you. Thanks to Sleeper for being a proud sponsor of the Krug Show as well, and thanks to you for supporting the Krug Show on YouTube.